Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, as I've explained to you how we operate in this world in terms of our visual, auditory and kinesthetic stimuli, all the VAK, all the visual, all the auditory and all the kinesthetic stimuli, as we partake in this earth, as we live on this earth, we are influenced by our inner speech. That's why from the perspective of Islamic psychology, our influences come from the inner speech. And where does this inner speech come from? This inner speech comes from our roh, our spiritual self, or rim, we call it, because we cannot split the thing. We're just saying that it's basically aspects of our existence in the realm of the spiritual, in the realm of the akal, in the realm of the qalb. Alright? It comes from that region and then goes and activate into our VAK, and that will affect our perception, our behavior, our sense of being and so on, presence and so on. So all that is a total package, which I have explained in our Positive Islamic Psychology Handbook, especially if you go back into the earlier chapter, on chapter 2, on the nature of the human self. Because we need to know the basic foundational idea that we are not just a physical being living in a physical world, but we are a spiritual being living in a physical world temporarily. Because even from the perspective of science, for example, we can only, for example, the four forces that we know, our electromagnetism, the weak nuclear force, the strong nuclear force, and gravity, the four forces only account for 5% of our knowledge. We have, for example, 70% are dark matter and 20% dark energy. We do not know. If you ask any physicist, what is dark matter? Oh, it's an aspect of our existence. What is it? Oh, it's dark matter. What is dark matter? Oh, it's dark matter. Because they cannot explain. So, but it is, the whole realm of our existence is now controlled by this idea called dark matter, which they have no understanding, or dark energy, which constitutes 20%. And then we only know the 5%, and when we only know the 5% of electromagnetism, we know of gravity, we know of the weak nuclear force and the strong nuclear force. Oh, as if we know everything. We only know a teeny-weeny aspect of our existence. The same thing with the nature of consciousness. From the Islamic perspective, we can explain the nature of consciousness because we have the realms of existence. Alright, our realm of existence is at the spiritual, emotional, mental and physical self. So these are together. But how does your consciousness affects you? Just like an analogy, the Sufi analogy, they says, okay, an old fish is swimming in the sea, and there are some young fish following that old fish, you know. So the old fish tell them, look son, look children, we are swimming in water. We are swimming in water. We are living in water. Then the young fish says, what is water? What is water? So the same thing, we are living in the realm of consciousness. But people ask, what is consciousness? Consciousness is the aspect of our existence from the highest level of consciousness to the lower level of consciousness, which Allah has manifested because of our existence. So if we say that we have our spiritual, emotional, mental and physical self, it's not separate. It is part of our consciousness of being, our consciousness of presence on this earth as ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this I have explained in detail in our, if you go to second principle, the holy transcendent nature of the human self, I've explained one aspect of our akal. Where does it come from? In our earlier description of our spirit roh, the inner heart, qalb, we have elaborated that on the primordial covenant in the state of Azali, when we were asked, at the creation of the human self. The mind, stroke intellect, akal aspect is imprinted into our spiritual roh. As a result, Muslim scholars tend to use these three aspects interchangeably depending on its functional and situational role in our journey of life. So when we talk about the roh, the qalb and the akal, they are interchangeable. This is what Imam Ghazali's deep insight into this. He has explained to this, interchangeable depending on the functional role. And a lot of the other Muslim scholars have explained this in very great detail, because that's why we have the full metaphysical ideas of existence. That is the most perfect in the deen of Islam. There's no others. I'm telling you, you go to all the others, they're still wandering around and they still do not understand. So we have this very deep understanding. From our existence in the primordial realm to our existence in the physical realm on this earth, and then back to the realm of the hereafter, our mind, intellect, akal plays a key role in reason and decision making. So our VAK, in terms of making the decision role and making perception, and then our behavior is affected there. Islamic scholars have defined an akal as an all-compassing intellect. So our al-akal is the driver in the sense of our intellect. It covers a whole range of the mind, brain, intelligent aspect. Akal is bound within the spirit, nafs, soul, and function as an integrative faculty within the spirit, inner heart, and mind. Al-akal. So the Muslim scholars has divided the akal into two. Al-akal al-juzi, the faculty of reason and conscious mind, and the faculty of discursive or analytical thought. So this is al-akal al-juzi that we use in our normal everyday life in the sense of our activating our visual, auditory, and kinesthetic aspect of our existence, and in terms of making decision, in terms of perception. Okay. Then we have al-akal al-kulli, the subconscious mind and beyond the subconscious mind, the faculty of intuition and the higher intellect and the faculties of awareness of the spiritual and divine reality. So this is where the two aspects of our inner speech, the two confluence of the two rivers of understanding bring us to the higher understanding of the nature of consciousness. All right. So there is a lot more detail in the book, but I'm giving you a taste of the beauty of Islam. So even if, say, for quantum physicists can understand, say, 5% in terms of the nature of our existence, of the nature of gravity, electromagnetism, weak and strong nuclear force, that only constitute 5% of our understanding of nature of the world. What about the dark energy, the dark matter that constitute 95%? They have no definition, they have no idea, and they're trying to find. Inshallah, one day they'll find some answer to it. But within the framework of Islamic existence of our life, we know of the realms of existence from the human perspective right up to the highest level of our consciousness, that is the universal consciousness or the universal akal. At the highest level, the intellect, al-akal al-kulli, which encompasses everything of the higher realm of the spirituality, which Allah is the absolute. So when He bestows upon us as a reflection of existence and akal, He possesses the absolute akal, which activates all aspects of inner speech for ourselves. So we are linked to God in a very direct way, in an Islamic perspective. So we have these realms of understanding of our existence, which is clearly defined within the metaphysics of Islam, and that can be used as a basis of understanding the nature of our inner speech, and that can be used also for our therapeutic aspect. For example, when we talk about positive Islamic cognitive behavior therapy, our behavior therapy will then go beyond the visual, auditory, kinesthetic therapeutic approach, because we have the spiritual approach and how the influences of inner speech can be gathered together in a beautiful manner, which will bring us the holistic approach to human existence, human understanding, and human psychology, inshallah. So we have to work on that, and inshallah, with this understanding, you can understand how the relationship of our lower levels of functionality in terms of visual, auditory, kinesthetic stimuli affecting the inner speech, and how this is affected by the higher realm of existence of al-akal al-kulli. And you can go into the detail of our book, inshallah, to get more understanding of it.